Good morning, everybody. MikesMMAPicks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMA Oddsbreaker. We are here for UFC Vegas 28, where we have Jair Rozenstruik taking on Augusto Sakai. 14 fights, all 28 fighters made weight. That is phenomenal to see. I expect a lot of finishes on this specific card. Let's kick things off, my friends. First fight of the night, where we have Claudio Puelles with a 9-2 overall record coming in, taking on Jordan-Leavitt. Jordan-Leavitt is one of these funky fighters who is very unorthodox on the scales. Looks can be deceiving. He is a grappler by trade. Puelles, not the most dynamic striker in the world, is also a grappler. Puelles looked phenomenal on the scales yesterday. That I don't put too much stock into what we see on the scales, especially in a fight where we've seen Leavitt's grappling on display on numerous occasions. Puelles, 9-2 overall record, plus 165 underdog in this spot. Line has closed slightly, 7,200 in DraftKings. This is a fight where you talk about a curtain jerker that may be potentially influential in an optimum lineup. This could potentially be a spot where we see a fighter implement top control, land from top position, look for submissions, and Leavitt at minus 205 with the DraftKings price of 9,000. He has the potential here to score big. The thing is, though, Puelles has been away from the game for a while, and he's still a young fighter. So there's the potential for Puelles to come in here and be the spoiler. Puelles putting in time at Sanford MMA. You've got Leavitt over at Syndicate. So both fighters here have a lot to bring to the table. I'm going to be leaning Leavitt. I think that his top control is going to be a difference maker, though he's a liability on the feet. So give me Jordan Leavitt. Next up, interesting bout where we have Youssef Zalal coming in with a 10-4 overall record. He's taken a number of fights on short notice, and he's fighting Zalal-Woodson here, who in the past has put time in with James Krause, and we know about Zalal-Woodson's length and how that is one of his biggest attributes here is his ability to box and fight at range. We've seen the Bochniak fight, etc. But last time out, Arosa snuffed him out. Zalal also looking to bounce back here. Zalal plus 140 underdog. I do think Zalal is live here, especially if he's able to drag this fight to the mat where he'll have a significant advantage. Woodson is going to have to try to use his footwork to stay at range in the smaller octagon and look to land those knees up the middle. We've seen that on display before. Woodson, I'm not comfortable with him as a minus 170 favorite and a DraftKings price of 8,800. We've seen featherweights here. High action fight could be a big problem if you're on DraftKings and you have Zalal-Woodson stuck on the bottom. Zalal, though, is not a phenomenal wrestler. He is primarily a striker by trade. I expect Zalal and the team over at Factory X to try to implement a wrestling-based game plan here, though it may not be effective. I'll be picking Woodson, but if Zalal is able to get this fight to the mat, then we have a live fighter on our hands. Next up, we have Manon Fiorot with a 6-1 overall record. That record is deceiving. She's coming from France and is a killer on the feet. Minus 615 at the betting window, 8,500 in DraftKings. Now, Fiorot was originally supposed to take on Moroz. Moroz ended up pulling out of the fight. And in steps Tabitha-Ricci, who really looks like she could be fighting at 105 pounds out there. Ricci, 5-0 record, Black House fighter, plus 415 underdog. DraftKings put up Ricci into the player pool very late. Hard to believe FanDuel did not have the wherewithal to add Ricci to the player pool. Disappointing, especially for those in the DFS world who enjoy playing DFS MMA. This fight takes place at 125 pounds. You have Fiorot, who is a demolition woman. Really, you watch the strikes. The left hand is like a piston. She also has a high kick, and she's mean. She's mean. So I'll be picking Fiorot in this spot. I think that's not a stretch here. Ricci's going to have to work really hard to close distance, and she's going to get popped and potentially pieced apart. I'd be looking at Fiorot inside the distance. There's a solid number on that. Give me Fiorot. We've got a couple of comments here. Good morning, Mael. Appreciate seeing you. I know we've got a new setup here. We're converting a portion of our home into studio. Good morning, Liam. Pleasure to see you. As always, let's continue up this card where we have Alan Patrick. Oh, getting up there in age, 37 now. 15-3 overall record. Brazilian wrestler who has a jiu-jitsu game to speak of. Taking on Mason Jones, Wales fighter, 10-1 record. Spent this camp at Team Alpha Male. We've seen last time out, last card, Yan Jianan went to Team Alpha Male, and Carla Esparza snuffed her out real quick. 30 seconds, put her on the mat, and the get-up game was not there. Mason Jones, black belt in jiu-jitsu, judoka, also boxing background. We saw the last time he was out was in a war, and although he lost the fight, put on a great showing. We've seen that he can fight at 155 pounds as well as 170 pounds. Alan Patrick was sitting out there waiting for this bout, working hard on the scale, spent some time at Sanford MMA. You know, that's something to, it's a piece of the puzzle, though. Alan Patrick, after he lands these takedowns, he doesn't do much with them. He's looking to control his opponents, looking to land wild strikes. He's not looking to be evasive. He wants to engage, and Mason Jones is going to face some adversity early in this fight. I expect Mason Jones to really, really work. And he was the second to last fighter to the scales yesterday. That is concerning. I believe Tybura was the last fighter, and he's, heavyweight. So there's no concern about Tybura missing weight. But Mason Jones really looked like he had to work on the scales to make weight. That being said, spent this camp at Team Alpha Male, has phenomenal striking, but the striking defense is a concern. Patrick, though, is a bit of a Neanderthal out there, and I think Jones is going to get to him. Cardio is going to be an issue here. I think we're going to see Mason Jones pull away with this fight late. Second round, third round, TKO prop. Take a peek at that. Patrick has been finished in a few fights here and has not looked good. The Bobby Green fight did not look good in that spot. I know there's the potential for Patrick to get get takedowns here. And if you're looking to play DraftKings, 6,700 for a wrestler who could potentially lay on top of Mason Jones and hold him there, that's a recipe for a high score. Though I think Mason Jones is going to get to him at some point. Give me Mason Jones in that spot. Next up, oh wow, we've got a welterweight bout between Francisco Trinaldo and Muslim-Salikhov. Trinaldo, 26-7 record. A lot of people have missed that Francisco Trinaldo made his UFC debut at middleweight. Came in at 183 pounds for that bout. This was back in 2012. So he's no stranger to fighting at a heavier weight class, though he spent the bulk of his career at lightweight. Coming in as a plus 188 underdog, 7,100 in DraftKings, Muslim-Salikhov, who's been he's been a staple of the 170-pound division, minus 233 betting favorite with a DraftKings price of 9,100. Now, Trinaldo looked phenomenal on the scales. Masa Randuba is no spring chicken, going to be 43 years old shortly. Although on the other side of the fight, you have Salikhov, who is the Sanda fighter, the fighter with, I believe, 185 kickboxing victories, minus 233 favorite here. Trinaldo is going to have to close the distance. If he wants to win this fight, he's going to have to get the grappling going, because Salikhov should pick him apart while Trinaldo closes distance. We know Trinaldo, the southpaw, looking to land those overhand punches, looking to land the body kicks. He's live here, Trinaldo, though I think Salikhov is just the much quicker fighter who has the much more technical, better striking here. Trinaldo coming off of 3 hernia repairs when he went under the knife back in December, recovered from that, doing this camp at ATT. I just think Salikhov is going to be too much for him on the feet. He's evasive. You watch the Zaleski Dos Santos fight. Man, I know Dos Santos was able to pop Salikhov on the button, but Trinaldo, it's going to take him a while to get these punches off and to have them reach their destination. And Salikhov, I believe, is just too quick for him. Give me Muslim-Salikhov in that spot. Next up, where we have Tanner Boser taking on Ilir-Latifi, and at a heavyweight class. I mean, you look at Latifi came in here, he looked like he fit in at heavyweight this time around, despite being the shorter fighter. Tanner Boser, I still have concerns about Tanner Boser's training partners, people who are going to test him on the ground, that takedown defense, although we haven't seen it much in the UFC. I have concerns about Tanner Boser's takedown defense, especially in the smaller octagon. I know that Boser he looks to stay evasive, looks to point strike. Latifi is going to, you watch him in his recent Instagram posts and the fighters he's putting in time with, there are levels to this game. Minus 175 on Boser. I don't know. That's a little sketchy here. 8,900 in DraftKings. Boser, he's going to have to finish Latifi to meet value. I'm not the biggest. I was a big fan of Boser in his last few fights, but matchups are important. Styles make fights. And in this specific spot, you watch the Ozdemir fight. There have been other opponents who've really caused Latifi problems. Caused Latifi problems. I think that Boser may potentially get off here early. He's going to have to get on his horse and stay on his horse throughout the bulk of this fight to be effective. And I think Latifi could potentially put Boser on his back and hold him there for quite some time. And I think there are question marks on Boser's get-up game. So I'll be picking Latifi here. There is the potential that Boser starts landing strikes at range. There are no certainties in this game, but I like Latifi here as an underdog. Super Babones. Good morning, sir. Thank you. Pleasure getting this show out bright and early on your fight morning as we prepare to get the DraftKings lineups ready and get your plays in. Wow. All right. 125 pounders up next, where we have Montana De La Rosa taking on Ariane-Lipski. Ariane-Lipski, 13-6 record. De La Rosa, 11-6-1 record. We've seen that nose of Montana De La Rosa get busted up. It's been leaking in a number of recent fights. Lipski, she's the better striker here, but the ground game, there's no question that De La Rosa has a clear path to victory here if she's able to get this fight to the mat. You have a Lipski who looked like she was out of place, she shouldn't have been in there in the octagon against Antonina Shevchenko on the ground. And De La Rosa, we know she's got a good camp behind her. Lipski, though, spent time at ATT. That's one step in the right direction. But I like Montana De La Rosa here. If this fight plays out on the feet for any period of time, I think Lipski could potentially be live. But that being said, De La Rosa is going to have to play this fight smart, get this fight to the mat. Minus 275 betting favorite. But as far as DraftKings goes 9,300. I think that De La Rosa does have the top control that is going to accrue points in this matchup. Lipski, though, if she's able to get her striking going, that may be a factor. De La Rosa footwork is going to be important here. She's going to have to be sly about closing distance. But as soon as she gets this fight to the mat, I don't see Lipski getting back to her feet. So give me Montana De La Rosa there. Oh, we have some feedback from Liam Latifa. Latifi is Ilir Latifi is going to get slept. Boser unproven on the ground. Last data point was very poor. Okay. Interesting. Latifi is being slept on. That's what you were getting at there. I believe you're onto something. The tape doesn't lie. Only issue there, Liam, is if Latifi gets caught out space for extended periods of time, that's where he could potentially run into some trouble. But I do believe Latifi is being slept on here. All right, let's continue where we have Makwan Amirkhani at featherweight taking on a relatively short notice opponent, Puelles-Leavitt, though Puelles-Leavitt fought recently in LFA. Puelles-Leavitt fighting out of Vegas here, Hawaiian fighter, 11-4 record. Makwan Amirkhani, 16-5. We saw last time out, Amirkhani took the short notice bout against Edson Barbosa, got blown out of the water in that spot, but survived. Amirkhani, as folks may be aware, I followed his career very closely. I was on him versus Arnold Allen, and I've been a big fan of his grappling. I was on Amirkhani versus Jason Knight. I faded him versus Edson Barbosa, and this spot is interesting. I was all over Amirkhani when he was supposed to fight Nate Landwehr. This spot is interesting, though. Despite Amirkhani talking a great game in the lead up to this specific bout, I don't trust Amirkhani's cardio, especially down the stretch. When he's extended in fights, he runs into problems. Makwan Amirkhani, great grappler, has finishing instincts. I think that there is the potential for Makwan to lock up a submission in this spot early, despite Puelles-Leavitt coming in with a black belt and having a legitimate grappling pedigree. But I think that Amirkhani's grappling prowess is going to be too much for Puelles-Leavitt. If this fight ends up playing out on the feet, Amirkhani, despite spending time in a boxing gym, he's looking to land one punch at a time and stay at range when he's boxing. But when he's transitioning to the grappling game, he's all in on the grappling. So it's strange seeing Amirkhani being so cognizant of his energy management on the feet. On the ground, though, he goes all out, and we've seen him gas out in spots. There is the potential for Makwan Amirkhani to gas out here. Puelles-Leavitt, I believe, if this fight hits the third round, I think, although you saw Kirk gas out against Billy Guarantillo, I think that Kirk could potentially be live the longer this fight goes. But I'm going to be picking Makwan here. I think that he has the ability to get this fight ended early. He has spent time basically on his own. He did not do his camp in Ireland this time around at SBG. I have concerns about that. He feels like this is a cakewalk, and I've heard him in previous bouts mention that he just needs one round. But it surprises me that you have fighters here who don't prepare themselves for 3-round wars. I think that every fighter should be prepared to go 3 rounds. That's what fights are scheduled to go, either 3 or 5 rounds. If you don't have the gas tank to go more than 1 round, that's a huge red flag. But I'll be picking Amirkhani here. I think that he has the tools. Next up, we have a head scratcher here in Tom Breese, who we know he has the tools to accomplish the task at hand, though he's had some mental lapses even prior to getting to the cage. I've spoken to Tom before. We've had him on podcasts, and we've seen him pull out of fights in the past. We know there's a history there, but there's also a history of Tom Breese looking great in the striking realm and on the mat. He's a huge middleweight. Incredible that he fought at 170 pounds for so long, taking on Antonio Arroyo, who is also a massive middleweight. Tom Breese with a 12-3 overall record, -270 betting favorite. And what's interesting here, Tom Breese, I think he's going to be a sneaky play at 9,200 against Antonio Arroyo, who has a kickboxing game. As far as the takedown defense, we know that's not there. The get-up game is not there. Despite Duran win with the wrestling pedigree, look at the size difference and what was being done there. There was really no gas tank. I was shocked by Arroyo in his last fight. $7,000 for Arroyo. Arroyo's going to have to get his kicking game going early. The problem with Arroyo is he's primarily a kicker, and he's going to have to, after he lands his kicks, he has to retract his leg, and that causes him big problems. He's leaves him open to being taken down. I think that's a real possibility here. Tom Breese has a path to victory. With barring Tom Breese mentally falling apart and giving the fight away, I think that he's the rightful favorite in this spot. I'll be picking Tom Breese. Antonio Arroyo could potentially catch Tom Breese, could break him the longer the fight goes, but I think that Tom Breese in this spot, I'm not going to say he's a lock because we know there are no certainties in this game, but I think that Tom Breese is the rightful favorite. I'll say that. Tom Breese, he's one of those fighters who I think we could potentially see some low ownership here, especially when we're watching and we look up and down the card with the higher priced DraftKings fighters. So interesting spot. I'll be picking Tom Breese. Next up, we have, I wish I had an explosion promo to put on the screen here. Maybe I'll have one next time, like the fire matchup. We've got Duško Todorovic with a 10-1 overall record, -130 betting favorite, taking on Gregory Rodrigues with a 9-3 record. Now, Gregory Rodrigues coming in with a significant Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu pedigree, massive middleweight, +100 underdog. This line has closed dramatically to the point where I believe there is some value now on Todorovic. Todorovic leaves his chin on a silver platter. We are aware of that, though he is by far and away the better striker here, has much better footwork, better volume. The ground game is a concern, and the chin are a concern for Todorovic. But the chin is also a concern for Rodrigues here. The gas tank is a concern for Rodrigues. RoboCop is taking this fight on relatively short notice after reeling off a number of victories, though he's fought some cans in previous matchups. I think that Todorovic is one of those fighters who could potentially be slept on, just like Tom Breese in the previous matchup. I think that recency bias is a real thing, and Todorovic has shown some warts, some big-time warts in his game, but he's the much cleaner striker, and there's a path to victory for him. There's also a path to victory for Rodrigues, but Rodrigues is going to need to get in close, and he's going to need to get close to land his strikes. Todorovic is a better range fighter here. I'll be picking Todorovic. I think that he gets the job done and does so inside the distance. Let's continue on here where we have the people's main event up next. Santiago Ponzinibbio coming in with a 27-4 record, a phenomenal record, has spent some time away from the game recovering from injury. Last time out, we saw him get sparked up by Li Jingliang. -105 betting. Well, right now, this line's very close. This is basically on the verge of a pick'em here, where we have Ponzinibbio coming in at -105. The Li Jingliang fight was a concern where he did not look good, maybe shaking off some of that rust, spending a few years away from the sport. This is a dangerous spot for both fighters. 7,900 in DraftKings. This is a make or break fight for DraftKings. You're either on one side of this fight or you're on the other. Miguel Baeza, the 10-0 record is a little deceiving. He is an accomplished grappler, has a great jiu-jitsu game, looks to throw bombs. The striking defense is an issue. These undefeated fighters come in here and think they're invincible. Has been tested and been on the verge of being knocked out against Matt Brown, and other fighters have outstruck him. -125 on Baeza is an interesting spot here. The line has closed slightly. DraftKings price of 8,300. If you're wiki capping this fight and you're looking up and down the resume and you see that Ponzinibbio, he has the resume and the tools on the feet to win this fight if he's able to be technical, use his footwork, land his own leg kicks. And I have concerns, though. The quickness of Baeza, that is a issue. Also, I think I know that the amount of damage that Ponzinibbio has taken both inside of the octagon and outside of the octagon is real here. This may surprise some, but I'll be picking Miguel Baeza here. I think that he has the ability to surprise Ponzinibbio. And although he may not be on Ponzinibbio's level as far as fighters that he's seen in the training room, etc., I think the explosiveness of Baeza is going to cause Ponzinibbio some problems. This is not a pick with a tremendous amount of conviction, because Ponzinibbio is still, there are still big question marks in this spot as far as I'm concerned. Liam chimes in saying that Baeza is on a 15-fight win streak through the amateurs. I'm aware of that. That's a great point. Winners win. And you look at the other side of the fight here, and you see Santiago Ponzinibbio, who with his 27-4 record, he is not used to losing. And I think that when you see his last time out, what did that teach him? Has he gone back to the drawing board? I don't think there's necessarily a need to go back to the drawing board, but he's just got to be more aware. And the quickness, if the quickness has gone, especially as far as the striking defense goes, then Ponzinibbio could potentially run into some problems here against a Baeza who is hungry, who is explosive. And that's, I think, going to be the difference maker here. So give me Baeza. Next up, we have a light heavyweight, basically, in Dolidze, Roman Dolidze, taking on Laureano-Staropoli, who is coming up from welterweight. You saw that clear as day on the scales. Dolidze 8-1 record, -145 betting favorite, 8,400 in DraftKings. The grappling path to victory is there for Dolidze, Georgian fighter who is a tank. Came off the USADA suspension, looked pretty good versus Giles, and the gas tank was an issue down the stretch. Staropoli is a volume fighter, Argentinian fighter who now is working with Dubronx. Interesting to see him trying to level up here as far as the grappling game goes, but it's going to take him some time to do that. 9-3 record. The gas tank's there for Staropoli, +115 underdog with a DraftKings price of 7,800. The way I see this fight playing out, Dolidze is the much larger, stronger fighter, explosive, though he's not the quickest fighter. So Staropoli is going to have to stay on his horse here if he wants to engage. Dolidze will be looking to, in my eyes, he's got to look to take this fight to the mat or else potentially be outvolumed here. I'll be picking Dolidze in this spot. I do see this fight ending early, though. I see that Dolidze, if he gets the grappling game going, there's a chance he finishes it that way. There's a chance that Dolidze comes in here and gasses himself out and Staropoli takes over down the stretch. We haven't seen Staropoli up in the UFC at 185 pounds. He did not look good on the scales. And I think he's going to get out-muscled here. I think that the tape, the evidence is there. And as far as Staropoli goes, he came into the UFC without a lot of hoopla. I'll be picking Dolidze in this spot. Now, co-main event of the evening, where we have Walt Harris taking on Marcin Tybura. Walt Harris, 13-9 record, very explosive fighter, +155 underdog. Walt Harris early or Tybura late. That's the way I see this one going. Tybura, 21-6 overall record, much better grappler here, better gas tank, smarter fighter when it comes to fight IQ. Has been blown out of the water early in fights, -185 betting favorite, DraftKings price of 8,700. Everybody who's fought Walt Harris early, there's going to be a storm that you have to get through. Can Marcin Tybura survive that storm? That story has yet to be written. But I think that more times than not, Marcin Tybura wins this fight. You're going to bank on Walt Harris having a puncher's chance early, and at plus 155, I think you need a better price tag there. If Harris gets this done, look at the inside the distance props, the knockout prop. But I think Tybura is live here for a submission, especially late. Came in at 251, I believe. Looked svelte on the scales considering it's Tybura out there. I'll be picking Marcin Tybura here to win this fight. Harris is getting up there in age, and Tybura is as well, but I believe that Tybura, we know he has the grappling skills to win this fight, and I think that's inevitably this is where it's going to play out. So Walt Harris by knockout early, or Marcin Tybura by submission late. I think this fight's going to finish. Main event of the evening, where we have Jair Rozenstruik taking on Augusto Sakai. Rozenstruik, 11-2 overall record. Hesitant last time out. Oh my gosh! As the coaches that he has at ATT must have been incredibly frustrated watching him against Ciryl Gane. He didn't give himself a chance, and that's one thing I wanted to tweet out earlier this morning, was share an example of a fighter who left meat on the bone out there and didn't give themselves a chance. You want your fighter to, if they're going to go out and they're going to take a loss, go out on their shield. That's a lot to ask, though. You could be potentially asking somebody to lose consciousness for your money. And the UFC and mixed martial arts, it's a high stakes game. You lose, sometimes you pay for it with your consciousness. It's an incredible sport, and what makes it one of the most beautiful sports in the world. Augusto Sakai, 15-2-1 record, minus 105 at the betting window, $8,000 in DraftKings. When you're playing heavyweights here, there is volatility. Rozenstruik has the potential to come out here and land a fight-ending shot. We know that. Augusto Sakai is more of a volume, striking-based heavyweight, though he does have some grappling. He trains with Wellington Turman, and I know there are different weight classes. But Rozenstruik has the much better training partners, and he is the quicker, more explosive fighter. You watch the lead up to the Overeem fight and other fights. This guy is an athletic specimen. When you watch him do road work, he legitimately looks like Leonard Fournette out there running. It's odd to see such a mobile, athletic heavyweight. Rozenstruik is going to look to lure Sakai in. Sakai willing to engage. We've seen more of a Muay Thai stand-up fighter who is looking to clinch and land knees and land leg kicks, land elbows in the clinch. Rozenstruik's going to have the opportunity to land. This isn't a Ciryl Gane who has that incredible footwork. So this fight may turn into a war of attrition here. You got to just wonder, how has this fight changed? How has the last fight, the loss to Gane, how has that changed Rozenstruik? If he comes out here looking to come out like hell on wheels, then it gets interesting. But then he could get taken down and put on his back. That's a real possibility here. Albini had success doing that. By the way, Albini, a number of fights ago, came in as a over minus 300 favorite versus Andrei Arlovsky. Incredible how he fell off the map and got his walking papers. Oh, we've got a comment here from Marcus. Good morning, Marcus. Great to see you, sir. If Walt Harris loses, do you think the UFC will cut him? Man, he's got a heart-wrenching story here. I think he could potentially get cut. Marcus. I think that the possibility is there. By the way, enjoy your time at the Poirier-McGregor 3 fight coming up. Excellent fight card down the road. Rozenstruik versus Sakai. This fight is extremely closely lined. When you look at the tools, the hardware, Sakai has the better hardware here as far as putting a more well put together fighter. Rozenstruik has the more precise kickboxing, has the power in both hands to end the fight with one strike, and that's heavyweights. The volatility is there, though. I think and I believe that Sakai should be favored in this spot. He has not only a size advantage, he has the volume advantage. He is a durable fighter who has more paths to victory in this spot. And you're relying on a puncher's chance in Rozenstruik. The thing is, though, he does, if you look at the majority of his fights, that's how he wins. He's able to get the job done by ending fights with his hands. Want to thank everybody out there for tuning in today. Appreciate you tuning in, Liam. Remember, go get what's yours, my friends. Get those DraftKings lineups in early. You have these fights kick off at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to have 14 fights, so there's opportunities to be had up and down this card. Tremendous fight evening. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you. Remember, go get what's yours, my friends. Third-party tracked. You can get my plays at MMA Oddsbreaker Premium if you're interested. We put out this breakdown for just about every fight show, every fight card. We've got many, many more to go. Cheers. Take care, everybody. Thank you.